Okay, we will get started now. Good morning to everybody and welcome to Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs' informational webinar hosting a virtual summer manufacturing camp. My name is Cindy Day and I'm the Senior Manager of the MBT Foundation, and I'll be the moderator for today's program. This webinar is hosted on RingCentral using the Zoom web meeting platform. The presentation is being recorded and all lines except the speakers will remain muted. Before we get started, some of you have already done this, but if you could please enter your name and organization in the chat box. If you can't find it, the chat icon is located in the panel at the bottom of your screen. You can also submit questions to the speaker or comments to the audience through the chat as well. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Ed Durnell, the MBT Foundation Director.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning to everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well. I'm looking at our participants, and right now we are at 42. I can't thank you enough for finding time to learn more about this webinar. I want to send a special shout out to some of our board members who are on the call. It's through their help and their direction that we really proceed and do the good things that we do for all of you. So during these very challenging times, we want to make sure that we let you know that we are here to be a resource. We're here to help, and we want to support you and your camps in any way we can. At the beginning of this year, we had a record number of camps of 185 in 29 states. And then, boy, have things changed. So we're here to help be flexible and adaptive and to help you with your needs as we navigate these very challenging and interesting times. Today, we're going to present a kind of a virtual platform. Because of the COVID, we wanted to make sure everyone understood we are relaxing our camp requirements. We are looking at engaging students for 2.5 to 3 hours a day through YouTube and other avenues. There are video tours of local manufacturing facilities that I would highly recommend to show the students, to engage them. As I like to say, doing a project's a micro approach to manufacturing, but going into a manufacturing company is a macro approach, building one project as opposed to building 10,000. So we look forward to helping you with that. And also, we want you to be creative in designing and creating projects that students can do from home as opposed to coming into the schools. So now I want to introduce to you Scott Beebe of the Fab Lab in Jackson County in Van Cleve, Mississippi. I've known Scott for only a year, and it seems like I've known Scott for about 10 or 15. He is an incredibly passionate individual regarding the manufacturing industry. I think you're going to enjoy his presentation in putting together, formulating a virtual camp. Again, we really encourage questions. And with that, I will turn it over to Scott and begin his presentation.
What she was showing you with the VaxVR, if you'd have clicked on activities during that time, you would have seen the different activities that are available. And now, there we go. All right, so can everybody see that? You should be able to see my screen now. So do you want me to go back through VaxVR, or do you feel comfortable?
Sure, go ahead. Okay. Yes, please.
So I generally, when I do things like this, I will start with the kids with nothing on my screen, because sometimes we forget that what we think we know how to do, they don't. So one of the things that I have a hard time getting kids to do, if the parent doesn't go to a website, some of your younger kids, they don't know how to navigate a computer on the internet. They really don't. I mean, they have links they click on and stuff like that that are already on their phone or on their laptop or whatever. But vr.vex.com, we go to navigate to that website. You don't need an account. You can just log in. It's all computer based. What you see over here are all of your block codes that tell the robot what to do. If you don't understand what a block does, you can always click on help, select the block, and then it will tell you what it does, give you the options that are within it, because as you can see where it says forward, there's a drop-down menu. So it'll give you the other options, and sometimes, depending on what the block is, it'll give you a sample code with it in it. Every thing has a playground, so we go into the playground, we open that up. This is where I've got all kinds of things going on. This is where the robot, sorry, y'all, I have technology. This is where the robot acts like it does if you were in person. You can expand this and you can change views. So any kid that's ever been in VEX robotics knows what the field looks like. It is just a plastic mat with walls. You can grab it, turn the view. This is the simple playground. There are other ones like Dynamic Wall Maze, and this one is really cool. It's a really big challenge for the kids because every time you try and solve the maze, when you refresh, the maze refreshes. So the maze doesn't stay the same, so it really makes it challenging. But kids have to get their robot from the starting point, the green platform, to the ending point, the red platform, which is really cool. So under here in activities, there are activities for every playground. When we go into activities, you'll see basketball drills, castle color match, coordinate numbers, the crash the castle, cross every number, disc color maze. There are about 21, 22, and they add new ones all the time. So every time I tell somebody how many there are, the next time I go in it, there are more. But the way it's set up is you simply click on an activity. It will give you a document with 3 different levels for that activity. So for basketball drills, for example, it is a simple movement, and you see right here at the top, they're classified in 3 categories: movement, sensors, and advanced. So you always start with movement. You would just want them to be able to move the robot. It says program the robot to drive forward 1 grid square. Then program it to drive in reverse back to the beginning point. Continue this pattern for 2 and 4 grid squares. So the kids would do that, and we generally go in and we do one with them. So we would do that one with them, show them how that works, because if you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to use it. And then they go to level 2. Now they have to go forward and make it come back without using the reverse block. So they would now turn the robot. So they're building on that initial go forward, go back. Now they're going forward, turning, and coming back. And so all of these things build on each other, and it's very, very self-intuitive. The kids figure it out very quickly, and they love it. So what we generally do is we pick 4 of these activities a day that lead to a challenge. So we will go through forward and backwards, drawing with the pen, drawing squares, and then the challenge that they would do overnight or before the next day's meeting would be to draw a house. And that's one of the activities. And everything is in here. It's in the activities. I hope someone's keeping up with the chat, because I can't actually see the chat and this at the same time. If people are having questions, let me know.
Hey, Scott, excuse me. Yes, somebody actually did ask the question. Will VEX work on a Chromebook, or are there other system requirements?
So what we've found so far is anything that will get on the internet and browse the internet, this will work. We haven't found anything yet that this didn't work on. We have had kids doing this on their phones. We've had kids doing this on their tablets. We had a little bit of trouble with a Kindle Fire or Amazon Fire, which is similar to a Kindle, with some of the things we did. But by the time we got done, people were able to figure it out. The biggest issue with the Kindle was they weren't able to do the Zoom meeting and the program at the same time. It didn't have enough processing power. So they would come into the Zoom meeting, see what we were doing that day, and then they would leave and go and do the activities on their own. If they had questions, they generally would then rejoin the Zoom meeting, ask us their questions, then go back out and do this. So we try and meet the kids where they are. Not everybody has 2 devices that they can do separate things. Not everybody has the newest laptop. We just tried to find things that would work on the widest variety of platforms. So it does work on a Chromebook. I do know that. So we go through this, and again, the activities, the kids are allowed to do as they wish, but we generally do about 50 minutes to an hour of really working on the activity that they're on. And then we do what I call a 10-minute brain break. We go to the bathroom, we get a snack, we get water. I've done the cha-cha slide on the computer while the kids are watching me dance. Just something to get their minds away from everything that's going on. And that sort of works, just, keeping kids' attention for 3 hours, if you're trying to do a 3-hour camp straight, especially online, it's going to be difficult. So, putting those brain breaks in there. I have the games that you link to. Some of those games do not work if you don't have Flash. So, but the games that are in there, they're like building bridges or they're solving mazes. It's not just random play Pac-Man type games. I've used them in my classrooms before from, was it coolmath.com? All right. So if nobody has any more questions about this one, we'll move on to the next.
Actually, Scott,
Yes.
excuse me, one more question. Can you see the student screens while they work?
So we go into breakout rooms and sorry, I'm not sure everything. So one of the things we do is we have at least 3 to 4 camp hosts in the meeting at a time. So we go into breakout rooms after I initially go through this first one. We take probably 15 minutes introducing the website, showing how things work, showing the basics. And then we go into breakout rooms where there are 4 or 5 kids per host. And that's where kids then share. Because if you have 20 people in one room trying to all share their screens at the same time, that gets very chaotic. It gets very difficult to know who really has a question and answer all the questions. So by going into the breakout rooms, the kids actually share when they have a question, they share, or towards the end of our hour, they will all share how they solved it, because then they're learning from each other. So, Susie might have a way different way of the way she programmed her algorithm to go back and forth as to the way Johnny may have programmed his algorithm. And maybe a combination of the two is the best. So we do things like this, where I'm in charge and I'm the only one talking and I'm the only one you can hear. And then we do things where kids have the opportunity, when they go in the breakout rooms, they all unmute themselves. They can all talk to each other, because socialization is very important at this time as well, not just these camps. And they talk to each other. That's one of the things I'm getting in the feedback is I like being able to talk to people. I like being able to share my ideas. Some of them say they wish there were more people in their groups, things like that. But that's when they share. And I also stay in the main meeting room during the breakouts. So any kid that feels like there's too much noise in their breakout room, or any kid that just likes to share everything, because we have several of those, they just will share their screen continuously. And so we leave it kind of a lot of options for doing those kinds of things.
One more question. How did you organize getting the VEX kits to the students?
Okay, so there is no requirement for getting anything to a student in this. This robot is built right here online. That you're not going to get a $1,000 VEX kit or a $300 VEX IQ kit to each kid in your camp. That's not reasonable. That's not something that's going to happen. In a perfect world, they come in my building and we have 20 VEX kits, and they build the robot and they program it on the floor and all of that. But we can't do that right now with 20 kids. So what we do is the next best thing. This robot is just here on the screen. There are some things that kids that are more advanced can do, even with SolidWorks and Grindr and Autodesk, where they can actually pull in and import VEX pieces from the VEX website and build a virtual robot that is more personalized than this one. And they can see what it looks like. And kids in VEX robotics competitions do it all the time. They always build their robot on the computer before they ever build the thing in real life. But getting a VEX kit, that's not something that's not gonna happen.
Sorry, the questions keep coming. What is the total
Nope.
amount of time in a camp? How many days, how many hours in a single day? And then can a design be transferred to the physical robot later for demonstrations?
Yes, now in this VEX VR, no. But if you were to build a robot using the VEX pieces in Autodesk or in grinder or things like that, yes, there are kids that do it all the time. On my VEX robotics teams, you can actually Google it. The kids will have YouTube channels, and they show what they call reveals, where they reveal what their robot's going to look like, and they have built it in a 3D platform. And then they do, because all the pieces are identical, all the gears, all the motors, all the sensors that they're able to pull in and do, and then they can transfer it to a physical robot at another date, yes.
Okay, just a couple, I'll try to ask these. And some of the questions that are being asked, particularly about the camp days or hours.
Oh, yes.
Those are questions we might answer later on, but also I just wanted to give you a couple other questions. A virtual robot, can that be made in SolidWorks and uploaded into this VEX VR? And once the program is over, and for how long, I guess, do you have access to it?
So this VEX VR is free. There are things that you can buy called VEX Worlds. VEX Worlds, you have to buy a license, and that's why I went with this route, is every kid would then have to have the license. If kids are interested in it, that's fine, and they can do that. In VEX Worlds, you can build your own robot to play games with. In this platform, it is this robot only, and only the games that they have created for you. This is very introductory, robotics and coding, but it is better than nothing. And for hours, what I do is 2.5 to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we're getting, that time in. You're not going to keep a kid in for that recommended 24 hours in a week that the camps for MBT were designed for. You can do that in person, but you're not going to do that online. The kids would be burned out. You have to think about, but plus with the homework we give, they're getting more time than that with the challenges, and the kids are coming back the next day with the challenges, and they're sharing them. But they've got a lot going on their lives. A lot of the parents are working from home, trying to share those computers. I've had 3 siblings trying to do it, one computer at the same time. If I were to keep them there for 8 hours a day, then they don't get that independent time. Whereas if I let them go with a challenge, they get to each get on the computer individually. There are all kinds of situations that we don't even think about that are going on, but you're not going to keep them there. And MBT's been really good about being flexible with those camp times and meeting those time restrictions. They're not going to hold you to the 24 hours and say, nope, you got 23 hours this week, we're not giving you a check. They just really are trying to help kids. And if that means being flexible and changing those hours, then be flexible and change those hours.
And speaking of being flexible, Scott, somebody asked about the age group for this activity, and maybe you can just speak to, again, the ages and the skill levels. So
generally, if they can use a computer, they can do this. I recommend 9-year-olds on up. I've had a couple of 5-year-olds who have joined, and their parent joins with them. And if that's something that's going to keep that 5-year-old's mind off of what's going on in this world, then I'm not telling them no. Join, have fun. Sometimes that 5-year-old ends up being in where they don't join the breakout room. They sort of stay in the room with me because they need more individual attention. But I'm just very flexible. And sometimes, I've had 9-year-olds with ADD or one that was autistic, and we just make sure we put those in smaller groups with me, and they get more individual attention. But this is something that anybody that can use a mouse and punch some keys, they can do it for sure. It just takes more time, and then that's really up to you. How many people do you have? If you're trying to do a camp of 20 by yourself, a 5-year-old might be more than you can handle, and so you just sort of have to organize that how you want. But I recommend 9-year-olds on up. Works very well. I haven't had any issues with that age group.
Great. There is another question, but I think if you want to move on to the next platform, I think it'd be a good question as you're doing that.
Okay.
This was in the chat box. We hear that many of our area students are getting burned out from virtual learning. Are there any concerns or extra tips in regard to engaging students in virtual activities this summer?
yes, I'm actually this week is the first time that I've run into any of those type of issues. If I tried to reach out to some teachers to see how things would work if I had them book a class. And unfortunately, the experience those kids were getting with those teachers was a very negative online experience. So while they were booked into the camp, I found that a lot that were booked by those teachers weren't showing up. So I had to scramble and get some other kids into the camps. But what I found is that the parents and kids that are burnt out by the online learning are burnt out by online. 2 + 2 is 4. Remember, everybody, 2 + 2 is 4. Write down 2 + 2 is 4. Or meaningless instruction. And I don't mean meaningless as in kids don't need to know it. I mean meaningless as in it's very rote and it's very memorization and it's something that they could just read off a PowerPoint instead of engaging. And that is something because, and I'm not blaming anybody at all. Nobody knew how to do this going in, right? We're all learning at the same time. But what I decided to do is I was going to eliminate the, for lack of a better term, the extra garbage that kids weren't interested in. If you want them to come in and be engaged, then we have to be engaging, right? So I tried to minimize the me talk and maximize the interaction. And that's what I found. So I'm actually having kids that are joining for camps they're not even signed up for because they want to be in the room just doing it. They are engaged. So with this, I think it would make teachers actually realize some of what they do in the classroom that's not engaging and change maybe how they teach a little bit. But one of the things that they've liked in our classrooms is we joke with them. We let them be the class clowns. We let their personalities come out, and we just keep them engaged. And if they don't like what we're doing, we actually offer them to do something else. So if I was on the last platform and somebody's like, well, I really don't like robots, then we're like, well, here's another one that you can do. And we open up scratchmit.edu, which is what I went to now, and we say, try this, or try Sonic Pi, or try Tinkercad, because, everybody's not interested in everything, and maybe their mom thought they would be and signed them up. So because I don't have a curriculum that I have to follow, there's no test. And that's another thing that teachers have working against them, right? I have to teach kids that 2 + 2 is 4. And if they're not interested in 2 + 2 is 4, they're not going to like the online any more than they did in class. But I still have to teach it because they have to learn it. Whereas I don't really have those restrictions. So try and be as open with what you're doing as possible. Offer as many experiences as possible. What they're bored with is things that they're not interested in. And it's the same way when they're in a normal classroom, right? It's just when they're in a normal classroom, they're a captive audience and they have to be there. Whereas online, they don't have to be there. We actually had a kid who changed his name, because you can change your name in the Zoom, to reloading ... so that he could sit there and his teacher would think that he was online and was having problems with his internet. Because his name said, because when you are joining the room, it'll say reloading ... or joining ... And he figured out what that said and changed his name to that. I thought that was very funny. But so we haven't had a huge issue with what we generally had is 15 to 18 join on the first day. And then 12 to 15 join every day the rest of the week. So we tell them straight, if this is not your cup of tea, if this is not something that you're really interested in, you don't have to come. This is not mandatory. If you want us to offer you something different, we try that first, of course. But generally, we have 2 to 3 that don't finish the week. And I think that's pretty good for me. If I'm finishing the week with 12 to 15, when I started with 15 to 18, I'm pretty happy with that. So this platform is scratchmit.edu. It was actually designed by MIT. There is a junior version for young kids who can't read. So you can download Scratch Junior and you do it with pictures instead of words. So we simply go to create. They don't have to have an account. If they do have an account, then they can do some really cool things. They can save their work. They can collaborate with others, which once the kids realize they can work with other kids on the same project, they love that. And I encourage that for your higher level kids, especially because working together is something we all want to teach kids to learn how to do. So when we go to create, we're going to get a window very similar to the VEX VR. I think that VEX VR sort of stole the platform from this. It's very similar to each other. This would be your playground. This would be where you can code. Right here, you'll see tutorials. There are probably 25 tutorials, very much like the activities. But what I like about these is each tutorial has a video. And the video is between 45 seconds to maximum that I think I've seen is 2 minutes. When you play the video, it's going to tell the kids what to do with this that's over here. So when I play this video, and I'm going to talk during the beginning of it, it just goes through, it talks through some things. I'm not sure that you can hear mine right now. It really doesn't matter. But when it gets to a certain point, you'll see the screen. It shows you what to do, tells you what to do with it, it tells you what to expect. You can pause the video and then do what they told you. Pull the block over, click on the block, watch your sprite move. Click on the block, watch your sprite move. And so the neat thing about it is you can pause it, you can rewind it, it's self-paced. If Johnny didn't get it, but Susie did, you don't have to wait on Johnny or Susie. Everybody can keep moving at their own pace. Then you click on it again and it just starts the video back over again. Maybe. And then it tells you go to the sound category. You click on sounds. You just do what it says. Drag this down. Hook it to that one. Oh, that's how these block works. They hook together and it'll do multiple things. Da, 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 da. And again, it just takes them through. So what we generally do here is I'll go to tutorials and they are all in order. Okay. Not sure why the other one is still playing in the background. All right, so I'll go to tutorials again. There are several tutorials, probably 20 something of them, that by the time they're done doing all these tutorials, and what we generally do is tell them to do the first 4, and then they get to play trying to create something that uses those 4. Then the next day they'll do 4 or 5 and play trying to create something that uses those 4 or 5. What we try and get them to do by the time they're done is either create a cartoon, a short story animation, or an app type game. So that by the end of the week, they've created something they can share within their groups. They can animate the story of the 3 Little Pigs, or they can create a chase game or a maze game, different things like that. But if they do these tutorials, they learn enough by the end of the week to be able to create. And I've had 4-year-old to 8-year-old kids create a video game where you had to move an animal through an underwater maze and it couldn't touch the spiny jellyfish. And if it did, it disappeared because you had lost your life in that turn. So this is something that kids can do. And then this is also something that my high school senior used last year in 11th grade in his computer apps class. So this is something that is a wide range of age groups and interest levels that kids can use. And I like it. And again, it's all online. You don't have to download anything. Kids can access it when you're not around. And they really do like it. Any questions about the Scratch?
Scott, we didn't get any questions, but we are receiving some good tips from one camp director to another. So just wanted to remind everybody that along with the recording, we will also have the documentation of the chat box. So there's some good information there as well.
And for anybody, I don't have anything else going on today with what I'm doing. Anybody wants to stay when this is officially over and just ask questions or tell me things that I've said that you're like, well, yeah, but you could do it this way. You know, I am all about stealing everybody else's idea. I do that all the time, I promise you. And I encourage kids to do that, teachers to do that. That you don't ever have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to know who is, right? And if you know who is the smartest person in the room, then you know what they know because you just got to ask them. And I find that every time I say something, somebody has an idea of how that could be different because we all have that way we see things, and seeing the way other people see things, it definitely helps for sure. All right, so if no more questions about Scratch, I'm going to go to the next one, which has more options. So Tinkercad is a platform that was designed by Autodesk. It is an introductory level Autodesk platform. Again, you can create an account. If you create an account, you can save your work, you can save the things that you do, but you don't have to create an account. So when you go to learn, you're going to get 3 different options because Tinkercad now has 3 different things in it. It used to just be basically 3D design, but now it is 3D design, electronics, and code blocks. Code blocks, one thing I like, especially if they've done Scratch or the Vex, is with code blocks, there is an option to open up line-based coding. So you can have block code on your screen, you can have block code and then line-based what it means beside it, and then you can just have line-based. So for those kids that are used to block coding, they understand what that means a little bit, you can start showing them how the verbiage works to get into line-based coding. And that is always very useful, even if they don't fully understand it, to see both. Because at some point, these kids that are really interested are going to start doing Python, and they're going to start doing C++, and they're going to start doing Visual Basics, and all of these other things that aren't block-based. So the way these work, and I'm going to start with the electronics because the 3D design, they're all very similar. But when you click on one, it's going to open a screen that is dedicated to that area. And what you'll find is some getting started, some lessons. And it's very much like everything else. On the left here, though, it's very much step-by-step. So when you get into the lessons, it'll have you do things like connect this battery to this resistor, to this LED, back to the battery. And it has you pull these pieces in one at a time and create electrical circuits. I've had seniors just get so, everybody likes to break things, right? Especially boys. And let's test it and see how we can break it, right? Well, that's great until you have to buy the pieces to replace them when they're in real life. But on here, I had a senior 2 years ago want to figure out, since LEDs have virtually no resistance, if you hook them straight to a battery, they will just blow. How many LEDs he could hook to one of these virtual batteries before they stop blowing all the LEDs. And he had like 1,000 LEDs hooked to this battery and they're still blowing. He's like, how many does it take? I'm like, well, since there's virtually no resistance, it's going to take he never did get it. And then he would take a resistor and put it in there. And of course they wouldn't blow. And then he'd be like, well, how many batteries can I hook to it so that it will go through this resistor and then make it blow? And so those are the kinds of things you want people to test, right? And you want people to be able to test, but you don't want a kid hooking an LED to your wall outlet to see if it will blow or not, right? Because that's dangerous. But in here, they can do it in a safe environment. They can test it and see what works, what doesn't work, what breaks, why does it break. We have breadboards, we have wires, but this is actually a virtual piano. When you push these buttons, it makes different noise based on the resistance level that's in there. And then kids just love it. And it gets to the point, which is what I really like, where when you've done all the simple lessons and skills and all that stuff, you get here and kids can actually have an Arduino kit in their hands and go through and start building what they show you to build online and download the code to the Arduino, and it will blink like a stoplight. That's what this one is, basically a stoplight. It will tell you what temperature something is, or an LCD screen, all of these things. So it really does get from very simple to very complex where kids can actually start using components. So we actually purchased the Arduino kits this year to do this in our building. So when we do start doing in-person camps, we will actually use Tinkercad to go through our Arduino electronics camps. We called it automation in manufacturing, because what we were going to simulate in our camps was all of the sensors and things that you would use in an assembly line or in a conveyor belt system, or that Amazon uses to track packages, because it scans the package and it says, okay, it's this package, it goes to the left. No, it's this package, it goes to the right. All of those things, and you can simulate all that with this Arduino kit. The Arduino kit is about $100 a kit, so we bought the Egaloo kit. It is the $35 version. So, when you get the funds from NBT and, you're supposed to spend some money on the kids, $35 per kid for them to walk out with this when they leave and to be able to continue exploring. Now with our online, they're not going to get this per se, but what we've done, somebody asked about the VEX kits and getting them to them. So here's how we sort of tried to make the best of a bad situation. NBT allows you to charge $50 plus per camper for a week-long camp. And then you're also supposed to use some of the funds to get an item to the kid or the things they would have used or whatever. So what we've created is a list of things that people can buy that are $50 or less. There are hydraulic systems you can buy on Amazon. There are levers and pulley kits that you can buy on Amazon. And I can share a list of all that stuff if anybody wants it at some point. But all these things that you could buy, the mini Sphero for robotics, the Arduino kit, we buy the Elegoo kit for electronics, things like that. And so we created a list of things that instead of paying to come to our online camp, use that registration fee to buy what your child would be interested in continuing to play with. So they're still getting that $50 item, but we're not getting the $50 from them that we would have used to buy that item. So I think it's a good trade-off. And it allows kids, parents that are in a situation, to just go ahead and order it themselves. Because the number of camps that I'm doing, 42, if I were to try and have to mail all this out to 840 kids or whatever, that would be a logistical nightmare. If you're only hosting one camp and you wanted to charge a fee and then send them something so that they would have something to look forward to in the mail, that's a way to do it as well. I didn't have the ability to be able to get everybody's address, mail it to them, purchase it and all that. It would have been very difficult to do, so we let them do it themselves.
Hey, Scott,
Yes,
several people are asking for the list, so if you could forward that to us, we can send that out with the link to the recording.
Yeah, so anything, Miss Day or Ed, anything that anybody wants that I have, if you will shoot me an email of a list of everything they're asking for in these chats, I definitely,
Sure.
I'll give everything to everybody. It doesn't matter to me. They're all on Amazon, and I just got a link, and I made a list of all the links and what they are and how much they cost. And we've had kids that have bought them. If you go on my Instagram account, there's actually a picture of one of the kids bought one, and he's sitting there with his computer, because some of them come with apps you can download that show you how to build like a water filtration system and stuff like that. And the kid's sitting there and he's got it all built and he's got the computer there. And, you know, his mom was like, oh, we love this. You know, thank you for the list. So people do, the kids are buying them. The parents are buying them. They're dying for things to keep their kids engaged, y'all. Parents are just wanting so much to find something to keep their kids engaged during this time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Scott.
Yes.
Was there another website, or should we shoot it back to Ed?
That's all the websites. This website, though, just has 3 different options. You can either do 3D design, electronics, or code blocks. So I use this one in what I call my STEM Explorations Camp. My STEM Explorations Camp is a little bit of everything, right? So they'll spend a day with the 3D design. They'll spend a day with the electronics. They'll spend a day with the code blocks. And then the last 2 days, they sort of get to choose and do what they want. But if we're on the day with 3D design and they don't like it, go do electronics. That's fine. I'm not going to tell a kid, you have to do 3D design today because that's what we're on, right? No, do electronics, do your own thing, do what because you may find a kid that never knew anything about electronics and never had the opportunity, to just falls in love with it and wants to do it all 5 days. That's fine. I encourage that.
Wonderful. Thank you. If you could stop sharing your screen and let Ed get back to the PowerPoint.
And I am so sorry about the technical issues I had this morning, but that is something that's going to happen.
Thank you, Scott. Again, technology is a great thing, especially when it works. So we can't thank you enough for your partnership and for your passion. You're just you're wonderful, and I appreciate you spending time to show everyone the ability to be flexible and adaptive during these very unique times. Uh, as we started to show you, we have all these in our slide presentation regarding VEX, Scratch, Tindercad. All of this information will be sent to you. So you will get this presentation, so you'll have the links to this. So, you know, how will your camp look? Will it look the same? As Scott has emphasized over and over and over, is really about, are the kids engaged? Are the kids finding this a useful opportunity to learn something different? Just as we need to be flexible, everyone needs to be flexible regarding how you go about exploring with the kids. Again, this is the first time we've gone through this, so the only thing you can expect is that there will be some challenges and some change, but that's a good thing. There's part of the slide, Scott mentions failure equals opportunity, and I couldn't agree with him more. As we navigate through this, we're all going to learn things, and we'll all be able to share. So we ask you to be patient with everyone, and including yourselves and your students. And we obviously are there for a resource. One thing I wanted to emphasize is that all of our CEC as well as non-school members are going to be eligible for a one-year FMA membership. This will allow you access to all of the information that FMA provides to their members. Our CEC member schools will get the one-year membership along with the non-member schools, and this will start on June 1st. Please see the link below for information. We would ask that you be part of the FMA family and learn more about this. I think we provide some incredible value to all of our members, so this is an opportunity to be part of that family, and we're willing to give a one-year free membership. So if there's any questions, obviously we'd be more than happy to answer that. So some additional free resources that we have online with through our FMA website, which we just updated. Again, we would ask you to explore these products, the Metal Fab certificate, our EFAB, FMA FabCast. We have a number of webinars throughout the year and throughout, especially during these time at home, stay at home. We've been providing webinars and whatnot to our members. So these are free resources for the instructors who can explore this. So we would ask that you do that. Just a reminder is that the applications for 2021 begin July 1st through December 1st. And if you've unfortunately had a camp canceled, you'll be getting first priority for our camps next year. And then obviously if you are a FMA CEC member, you'll be getting special consideration for that. So I know we're trying to navigate 2020, but we wanted to just throw out this reminder. And as we get closer, obviously you can talk to myself, Cindy, or Dana, and we'll be more than happy to help you navigate that process. And then again, thank you to Scott. Can't thank him enough for his time. We also want to provide this 1-800 number or 188 number for if you have questions. Obviously, you have our website to go explore the camp, as well as the other things that we have going on at MBT regarding blogs or regarding events or whatnot. Here is information regarding outreach to myself, to Dana, and to Scott. We would ask that do not hesitate to reach out to us at any time. We're here for you. We're here for to serve you and to make sure that our partnership continues. Again, we cannot thank you enough for being a partner with us and growing our camp program. It's through your efforts that we've been able to reach the kids and continue our mission. So with that, I will open it to any questions and turn it over to Cindy.
Thanks, Ed. Scott, just wanted to ask one last time if there's anything else you wanted to add. If not, everybody has the contact information there if you have any further questions about hosting camps. If you do have specific questions, obviously contact Scott about something that he presented today. Otherwise, you can contact Ed or Dana or myself, and the 800 number is toll free. So if you have any questions about either MBT or even FMA programs, please feel free to reach out that way. Well, that concludes the webinar. Thank you very much for attending. We especially want to thank Scott Beebe for presenting today. So following the live webinar, you'll receive an email with a link to the recording and a PDF of the slides. Please feel free to forward the email to others on your staff or share with colleagues and other manufacturing camp hosts. Be sure to visit MBT's website at nbtfoundation.org for updates on the 2020 summer manufacturing camps, plus the details and a load of resources for camp directors and hosts. You should also visit FMA's recently updated website at fmamfg.org for additional information on CEC membership, access to free training resources for educators, and upcoming FMA programs and events. Again, thanks for joining us today. We hope everyone has a great day.